started here. Okay. So I guess kind of where we left off for the assignment 4. So in assignment 4, the objective was to have the world set up such that you could divide it into, say, these objects you could break apart, things you could pick up. And really what we want to do now is we want to have this ability to kind of construct an inventory such that as we're picking up items, we can then put them into our inventory and be able to select them. And so what we're touching upon within the scene that we haven't talked about yet is this canvas. So all of you have a canvas in your scene, and really what the canvas represents in Unity, this is the surface that you overlay to put UI elements. So if you want images or any type of kind of user interface that goes kind of extends beyond, I think, what you would implement within the game, this would be something that's kind of drawn on the canvas. And so if it's drawn on the canvas, it will always stay within the view of the player. So if I enable this, that'll turn it on. And within here, we have kind of a set of different items. So we have this health slider, health label, HUD inventory, this inventory window. And so this health slider and health label, we're not going to worry about those until the last assignment when we get into building an AI enemy. But really what you all should be most interested in for this assignment will be the HUD inventory and this inventory window. And so if you go into like game object and UI, so there's a host of different kind of widgets you can use for creating a user interface that would fit on top of your game. So if any of you've had experience with kind of like some kind of app maker or just kind of any kind of like graphical programming, you may have seen some of these kind of things before, like buttons, toggles, sliders, scroll bars, input fields. Also, these are all kind of the same things you would find if you were to do like web programming. So if any of you've done some kind of web programming, some of you've probably written websites so that kind of interact, have buttons that interact or input fields that interact, things like that. So that's where so for the UI elements that we're going to construct, so some of them are provided to you and some we're going to create. They're all kind of come from this palette of objects available to you. And so if we look at the HUD inventory, so really this is just one giant image that's kind of drawn at the bottom. And so if I come to my scene, so this probably makes a little more sense. So if I come back to my character, it zooms in here. But if I zoom out, you see this whole other kind of massive window.
Right.
So the way that Unity constructs its canvas is that it'll create what looks like this window kind of drawn away from everything else you have going on in the game. And then as you add elements to it, you'll see the elements that kind of appear within that canvas window. And so everything that we want in our UI has to fit within this canvas. And so here, you can look at, and so just give you some explanation as kind of what we're looking at here. So So here's our HUD inventory. So literally, this is just kind of a large image. And so we have the image set up here. And I'll explain a little bit more about what a toggle group is. But here you can manipulate kind of the size of it. And then you should notice here is that these kind of like little arrows. So these arrows refer to the anchor points. And so really what the anchors do is that it pinpoints kind of where a widget will exist, how it will scale based upon how the window is being shaped. So if you go from, say, like a minimized state to a maximized state, or you scale the size of the window, you want your UI objects to kind of respond, behave in some kind of manner. So maybe you want them fixed in a certain location, or maybe you want them to scale kind of based upon how the window is scaling. So what the anchors allow for doing is just kind of putting in here the kind of locations where you want UI elements to kind of remain, or how you want them to kind of scale as you're manipulating the size of the canvas. And so down here, and so for the HUD, why not on this kind of lower point here? So really, what this is indicating is that it's going to stay fixed, or it's going to scale as we scale it. It's going to use this as this kind of anchor. So the anchor point is going to put where we want the object to exist. But we can move it such that we can have it remain a fixed size. So if we were to say kind of move it out to the extents. Let's see, this may be a little difficult. Okay. Yeah, because I haven't maximized on play. Let me try. But let's see. Let's scale. Let's try it this way. So you see it's kind of scaling. So this one, it's scaling with the size of the window. So if I were to change that, just kind of put it back. Whoops. So now you can see it stays put in one spot, but the size doesn't. We're not telling the widget to scale with it. So it's going to keep the same size. So it's going to stay in the same location, keep the same size, but it's going to keep the same size. So like I said, you can play with the anchors to kind of manipulate how you want the different widgets to respond as you're manipulating the environment. Okay. So if you remember, or let's see if I have that window. So this is kind of what the final product should look like for our HUD. We have these kind of 5 boxes that kind of reside within that HUD inventory. So I'm going to start putting that together. So right now on the class website, if I bring that up. So there is another, So there's another Unity package that you can download. And so this does provide some new scripts and some new sprites and prefabs. And so one of the prefabs that's included with it So I've already created a prefab for the HUD or for the inventory. So so UI elements, they're treated just like game objects, and so that means you can construct prefabs for each of these. So if you want, say, you want to reuse a particular type of UI element throughout your canvas, or if you have, say, different canvases, you can have these different UI elements. Let's say you construct a prefab and keep a copy of them to reuse. So that's what I've done. So that's what I've done here. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add this to the HUD inventory. So if I double click, so give you, so let's see. So so this is a toggle. So there's an idea of a button, an idea of a toggle within within Unity. And so a toggle, kind of the difference between a toggle and a button is that a toggle, you can set it up such that you can have one and only one toggle highlighted at any time. So you can have, so for instance, you can have multiple buttons on your screen and be able to push all the buttons and have them all enabled or disabled, or just in various states. But you can set the toggle such that it's if you group them together, you can have one toggle. As soon as one toggle is enabled, and the rest are disabled. And so that's kind of what we want to have for our HUD, because we want to select one and only one item to be active at any point in time. So along with so within here we have kind of different child objects. So we have this background, and then once it becomes enabled, we can have a different image being shown. So when we click on it, it should go from this black to white image. Whoops. Along with that, there's an image that's in here and a text that's within here. And so the image, so the image is going to represent the item that you picked up. So so whatever item that you pick up, you should get the image of that appear here, and then the text should then show how many of those items that you currently have in your inventory. So that's why we have those two pieces there. So I'm going to rename. So because we're going to have we're going to fit 5 of these in here. So I'm going to rename these. I'm just going to rename this one called slot 1, and I'm going to move it just so it appears kind of on the edge. I said, now I can start duplicating. Whoops. So I can move this one over there. I think I made my duplicate. And duplicate. Alright, and HUD inventory, this is it's got a little too big. So I'm going to see if I can scale this down. Oops. I probably just need to move these. See, these are 64. Oops. I could probably move just a little bit more. Do this one a little bit more. That one. And that one. Perfect. Excellent. Look at that. Alright. And then I'm going to rename these, like I said, so I don't get confused. So I'm going to say slot 2, slot 3, slot 4, and slot 5. Okay. So now if I turn back off the game, so now you see I got my little HUD inventory going, my little boxes. And let's see, if I click on, so I get, so now it shows that's enabled. So you should probably all see there's a problem here, right?
Yeah, whenever you click it, you're also hitting the destroy button.
That
you're
is
also destroying the screen around it.
Yes. So that is, so it is right now. It's not checking to see whether or not you're clicking on, or if your pointer's clicking on a UI element. For this assignment,
Why the change?
So for this assignment, that's not a big deal. What does matter though is that you can see all these are being, you can enable more than one of these. And so the reason being is that in here, so for each of the toggles, you have to identify the toggle group that it belongs to. So then it knows whenever one of the items that's within the toggle group has been enabled, then the rest can be disabled. And so your HUD inventory, so it's already set up to be a toggle group. So really we just have to come back in here, and so if you just click on, there's only one toggle group in the entire scene, which is that HUD inventory. So you just have to go back in, and for each of these, identify the toggle group. So I'm going to do So now if I go back and run, now, like I said, now anytime one of them is highlighted, the others get disabled. That's what we're looking for with that. So, excellent. So that gets us on our way. So probably the next question that should be cropping up in your minds is, well, now how does this actually tie into the game? So, or how do we get it to interact with the game? And so for that requires having to do some scripting in order to tie our HUD elements into the game. So for this assignment, I have provided a new script that you'll be able to get with a package called Inventory Manager. And so I'm going to go ahead and really the Inventory Manager, this is going to tie to the character. So I'm going to go ahead and just load this up, and then I'll get into a little bit more about what it does. So really the responsibility for the Inventory Manager is to, as you pick up items and use items, it's there to be able to update kind of the different UI elements, such that it appears correctly. And so I'm going to open up the Inventory Manager, so this script. So you've already seen on the from the inspector, we have this idea of HUD icons, HUD labels, this inventory window, and backpack. So I didn't really explain that. And so for this assignment, we have this other UI element. So I'm going to go ahead. So right now, it's not enabled. So if I enable it, you can see it. So what the heck is this? So this is going to represent the character's backpack. So if you pick up more items than what can be shown in the HUD inventory, it's then going to move into this backpack. And then you can actually go into the backpack and reorganize it such that you can bring items into the main HUD so you can use it. So if you want to have, say, kind of multiple, more items to pick up than what you can show in that HUD, you have the opportunity to do something like that. So some of this was also predicated on when we were doing work with crafting with this assignment a while back. So we're not going to deal with any of the crafting. So you don't have to worry about anything with regards to crafting. If that's something that you're interested in using or doing, I said I have the scripts available. I can show you how to apply that such that if you wanted to. And so really for crafting, it's you have you pick up a set of items, and once you satisfy the condition that you have the right number of items, you can then say, I want to make a new item. And then it will create that new item and put it in the backpack. And so if that's something that you really want to do, especially for your final project, I can provide the scripts for that. Let's see. So let's go back. I'm going to disable this because it just becomes hard to see. So kind of what we're doing in here, we have this. So within your C# scripting, you can make multiple classes within a single script file. And so in here, we've made this new class we call inventory item. And really what this does is that it has a reference to the item that you've picked up, how many of that item you've picked up, and where it exists within your inventory. And so we just have this big array within Inventory Manager that references all the different items that we picked up. And so kind of the things that should be of interest to y'all. So here, in the update, we look for if we press the key code. So if we press the letter I. So if we press the letter I, that brings up that inventory window. So that gives you a glimpse into the backpack. And likewise, if you hit it again, then it should turn it off and set it away. And so in here, when we add an item to the inventory, we search to see whether or not it currently exists. If we already have an object in there, and we also have a limit. So you can only have, right now you're set to only have 99 of a particular item. If you want to have more or less of that, you can modify that number to do that. But we're looking to see, when we add an item, we just check to see if we already have that item in our inventory. And if we do, we just set a little increment to say, okay, instead of carrying X amount, we now have X plus 1. And if it's something that's brand new that we don't have in our inventory, then we go ahead and create a new inventory item, and we keep all the relevant information, and then we make that the active slot. So so anything new that you pick up, that'll automatically become the active item that you have in your inventory. Let's see, and then if we go into, say, removing, and we'll get into kind of how we do the remove. It's kind of a similar idea. So we look for the item. If we find it, then we decrement how many of that we have. And if we get down to 0, at that point, we remove that. We essentially null that out. And we still set the active slot to whatever the current active slot is. That should zero it out, so then we don't see it in the GUI. But here, the update GUI. So here, this is where we go through and we update all the different HUD icons and the text labels based upon what's in our inventory. So here we call it update GUI anytime we add an item, anytime we remove an item. And all we're doing here is we're pulling that out. So we're looking for that item in the inventory, and then setting up the HUD item, or said the HUD image and the text to to draw exactly what it is that we want to have. So anyway, so if I come back to the character, okay, so in the so we kind of talked about what some of these items are. So the HUD. So the HUD represents this HUD inventory that we had in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. The inventory window, this ties into kind of that backpack feature. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to add the backpack inventory. And then the holding. And then HUD labels, HUD icons and HUD labels. So these tie to, let's say we want these to be representative of the HUD items here. So I have 5 of each of these. So let's just say 5 and 5. So now I can, so now what I want to do is I want to be able to tie the images and the text labels to this. And so for this one, the ordering is critical. So you want to make sure, so like for say slot 1, put my image here, and I put my text down here. So you got to make sure that these line up, because otherwise you don't want a mismatch between, say, the image and the text. for the different sides. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this. So image, text. So those all lined. Okay, so you have all those lined up. Right now, yes.
So the image numbering or the element numbering started at 0? Is that because it's an array?
Yes.
Is that why it's doing it?
Yep. So yeah. So yeah, the reason that this comes up is one way. So this starts at 0 because the way that C# when it indexes arrays, the first element's 0, so it goes from 0. So for 5 elements, it just goes from 0 to 4. So the last element is always going to be whatever the size is minus 1, and so we start at 0. Okay. So the one thing that we still need to have a tie, because right now, so this inventory manager, we've done the work of at least getting all the UI elements of our scene referenced within the script. We still haven't done the work of actually being able to work with the game. And so in order to do that, it requires kind of modifying scripts that we've already used. And so in this case, what we're wanting to do is that anytime we have an item that we want to pick up, we now want that to appear in the inventory. So this ties into that pickup script that we wrote for the assignment 4. So in assignment 4, your pickup script should look something like this. So you have some game object called item. So that's the item that you're going to pick up. And then once you collide with that pickup, it first check to see whether or not there's a use equipment component on the item that you're colliding with. And if we find that, then we know that we're colliding with the player. Because the player is the only game object we have that has this use equipment component. And so if this is not equal to null, so if we find it, then we're going to call set current equipment. So we set it. So in this case, instead of game object, really this should be item. So we set it to the item, and then we destroy the object that we picked up. And so the set current equipment, so that's what establishes that this is the item that we're going to use. If I come back to Inventory Manager, I'm going to save this first. If I come back to Inventory Manager and I look at this add item inventory, so this is really going to take the place of what we did previously. So now, we're going to add this into our inventory. And as I described before, we can look through the inventory to see, have we picked this item up before? And if we have, just say, well, we have one more of it, or if not, we're going to, make a new item in our inventory. And then we have this set active slot. And if you look at set active slot, you can see what it does here is that it looks to finds the item in the inventory, and then it calls set current equipment, kind of like what we're already doing in the pickup script. So now this is it's taking over that behavior to kind of picking for us, getting the item queued up that we want to use when we decide to use it. Oops, keep that. So I'm going to come back here. So now for this we have to write some new code for a pickup script to get this to work. So it's going to follow kind of the same pattern as what we've done before. But now instead of looking for the use equipment component, we now want to get the inventory manager. So I'm going to make a note that says, oops. So if they find the inventory manager player, so inventory manager, we'll call it inventory. That's equal to, and it's say kind of the same kind of pattern. So we look at the game object that we're colliding with, and we're going to try to grab this inventory manager. So I'm just going to comment this line out because we're not going to use that anymore. And so what I'll do here, I'll just comment these lines out. And I'm just going to copy. Actually, I don't want to copy and paste. I'll just leave that. I'll just go through just typing this out. So here, if inventory does not equal null, so if we find the inventory manager, then we want to call that add item to inventory. So we say inventory, add item to inventory, and here I'm going to add the item. And then say kind of follow the same pattern. So after that, just destroys the game object. So destroy game object. Okay. Let's see if that compiles. Hooray, compiles. All right. So let's go ahead and run. Let's see where we're at. I'm going to break some stuff. Ooh, cool. So now you see I did something kind of appearing here, and a little text button. Or text. Actually, I'm going to maximize so you can kind of better see it. Maximize on play. Yay! Alright, then if I break this apart, so you can see it incremented. So now it's at 2. Because I picked up 2 the same thing. So that's pretty rad. If I come back to the prefabs so here in this mud block, so if you remember, you may not remember, but last time we were together on Thursday, I was talking about essentially the idea where the item you could pick up would also have be able to have this place item script. And the way that this is written right now, it doesn't support that idea. So what that means is, so for the mud block, just to make this clear, so the mud block is just it's something that gets created when I break it apart, but then I have to define something else as the item that I can pick up. And so in here, I've defined the apple as the item that can pick up. And so the apple, this has that place item script associated with it. And so just to kind of make it clear that we can have multiple items, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make a new item. So if you remember kind of the way we can do this, I'm going to minimize this stuff. So if I come into, so I'll use the wood block. So I'm going to grab grab a wood block and put it in here. Call it wood block. And so if I follow kind of the same ideas that we had for an item that we could pick up, so in order for that to work, we had to have kind of a different set of components. So one component is having a box collider, so we need to know whether or not we're colliding with it. We also want to have a rigid body, just to be able to have some physics tied to it. I say you can freeze rotation so it doesn't kind of flip end over end. And then you also want to have the pickup script associated with it. And now, so we can give it kind of a different, kind of another item to pick up. And so let's make another kind of pickup item. Let's make a mushroom. We can find, that looks like a crazy mushroom. What is that, flower? Mushroom? That looks cool. Let's use that. So let's call it mushroom. So for our pickup items, again, we can have kind of similar components. So rigid body, a box collider, and then this is going to have the place item script tied to it, and we'll tie it to the ground. And if I come back and look at these prefab, let's see, that was at 0016 by 21. So I just wanted to mimic kind of what's already there. Okay. Now if I drag these into our prefab directory, so now I have them set as prefabs. So we really want to, so I'm going to set one of these tiles when I break it apart to create a wood block. And then that wood block is going to have that as its kind of item that you receive when you pick it up. So let's see, yeah, so right now, I think it was this top was the only thing I had was destroyable. So let me do that also. So actually what you can do, so another thing you can do here too is that you can also copy components and put them on let me do that. Where'd that go? Whoops. Did I lose that? So in case you missed it, let me do that one more time. So what I'm doing, so instead of me going back, making a so what we would do normally is we would click on it, we would click on that component, hit the destroyable, get all the different images you want, all that good stuff. And we don't, like I said, it's just too much time and effort. So what you can do, so you can just copy the component, and if I come over here, now on one of these gears, I can say paste as new. And so now I have the destroyable on here with all these other items that are copied. Really, the only thing I want to change is the mud block to be a wood block. And then for wood block, I have to give it an item that you can pick up, and we'll make it pick up a mushroom. So after all that nuttiness, what do we get? Let's see. So I'm going to break stuff. Exciting. Breaking that. Oh no!
What happened? It went through.
It went through.
It went that way.
So,
Well, that'll take some time.
you remember, sorting layers are our friend. And so we want to make sure things are getting sorted on the right layer. So if I look at the mud block, so I can just mimic what we did with the mud block. So the foreground, and make it on that first layer. So let's try that again. Hey, look at that wood block.
Yeah, where'd that come from?
That came from
Nowhere.
being here in the scene. So I'm just going to remove those from the scene because we don't need them in the scene. So let's do this one more time. Wow.
Whoa. Why did it change from? Okay, we're not. Okay.
So now, I said because I had two different items, so now they're kind of showing up as the different items in the inventory. So I say, so you can make, so just kind of a set of items, so it's a set of pickup items. I said, so right now, the way that the scripts currently work, you have to differentiate between an item you can pick up and an item that appears in your inventory. So just be mindful of that when you're putting these together. And you can use kind of the same imagery. So for instance, say you produce a wood block, but you want to have like a block of wood as your usable item. You can totally do that. Well, so for instance, so instead of making it say like this mushroom, you can make it a wood block, and just keep everything else the same. Let's call it like wood pickup. Oops. But it's just a quirk of kind of how the inventory management is created right now. So you have to kind of break them up in that way. At any rate, I think that kind of brings us to the end of class. So Thursday we'll pick up. So we'll go into the removal. So you get some experience with that, and then talk a little bit about putting in checkpoints, and we'll also do the quiz on Thursday. So yeah, so that's it for class today.